Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to the best games as ranked by people on Board Game Geek and as commented on by myself, Tom Vasel. I'm from the Dice Tower, and Board Game Geek is a fantastic source of people rating games. We're now in the top 40. So far I've looked at numbers 41 through 100, and I've played all but 2 of them. So let's see if that continues to hold fast as we go now into the top 40. So we're going to start with number 40, which is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is one of those games that you just knew was going to be on a top list. This game, which can play up to 7 people. That's one of the things that this has. You know, I've always been like, why does Seven Wonders do so much better than Ticket to Ride? Which I like them both, but I think Ticket to Ride is a superior game. But Seven Wonders does handle 7 people. So here you can see a table set for 6 people. And in this game, you have these cards. And you look at the cards, you keep one and pass it on. Some cards you have to pay to play. Some cards need prerequisite cards on the board. Sometimes you have to pay your neighbors for the resources. And it does have a bit of a historical civilization feel to it. But it's mostly about card play. And it's also fairly easy to play. It's a game that I've noticed a lot of people, they know exactly what to do once they play it. You're trying to get sets of cards. Some cards give you points now. Some cards like these green cards here, these are science cards. These give you benefits if you have different numbers, different symbols on them. So the game just plays very smoothly. It's very easy. There's a lot of drafting games out there. They're very, very popular, but this is probably the king of all of them, Seven Wonders. Then number 39 is Keyflower. Now it remains to be seen if the new one that came out this year is better than Keyflower. But Keyflower is a game, and this is one of the few games I think I haven't actually reviewed Keyflower, but I have played it. What I find interesting about Keyflower, let's see if I can find setup of the game at all. I think this just shows you the components. But in Keyflower, there's a lot of these different tiles that are going to be out on the board. So here's the image of it. Yeah, this is just showing you all these different tiles, and it shows you these different meeples, and you're going to be taking actions by auctioning on them. But because there are these different color meeples, there's red, yellow, and blue, green is kind of a wild, you are going to be bidding with 3 different currencies. So the first person to put something out is basically going to pick the currency of the bid against that. So it's kind of interesting because you may have a lot of blue meeples, but you may not have a lot of red ones. And so if someone starts bidding in blue, you're like, in red, you're like, oh man. And other than that, the game has a lot going on in it. The Keyflower it's about ships moving around, filling the ships. It's a lot, very similar to a lot of Richard Breese's game, where get resources to do this, to do that. And it's probably, I don't think it's his best game. I think Reef Encounter wins that spot, but this one is more recent, so a lot more people know this one. And this one's extremely popular. There's not much more I can say about that. I like it fine. I'd probably rank it a 6 or 7. It's enjoyable. I think the new one that just came out is better. I'll be doing a review of that one next week probably. So that's Keyflower. Then we have Time Stories. Now Time Stories at 38 is a pretty high rated game. And if you watched my Board Game Breakfast this past week, you'll notice that I did one of my predictions was that this would be the last year of Time Stories. I hope I'm totally wrong on that. But in Time Stories, you're going to take characters to go through story. Now, this character here is not super, he's paranoid. You're taking over someone who is in an insane asylum. But there's all different things. You're from the future, and you're going to be going back in time. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure story for people. So let's kind of take a look here at the whole game. This is the whole game showing the Marcy case, which is the first module. This game's like a thing where you plug modules in, and you're going to go from the future. They send you back in time, and you have to solve some sort of problem. So you work together, you go to different locations, you go to these locations, and do you have the right items? Do you make the right choices when you're there? You can die, and you go to, here's a picture of a room that you go to, and there's other things on here, and I don't think this is really spoiling things, but it's just showing you, like, here's a map up here at the top of the board where you're moving around in the whole location. There's a lot of cool things, and the stories can be spooky. I think they're more often spooky than not, but eventually you'll fail. Yeah, you don't win the game, you fail. Then you go back and start over again, like Groundhog Day. And then you hopefully make the right choices. And then you might fail again, and you keep going until you get it right. I really like the concept. It's a lot of fun. I think it will continue. There's at least 5 modules for it now, maybe 6. And there's a couple more that we know for sure are coming. We'll have to wait and see. But Time Story is very popular. Number 37 is the new juggernaut of the industry, and it's cooled down a little bit in 2017, but still very, very popular, and that is Codenames. Codenames here is a game which is for two groups of two people, or just two teams in general. Two people are the clue givers of their team, and they have a grid, and well, here, I'll just show you the picture of the grid. They have this grid, and it shows you, if I'm the red team, those are the words I'm trying to get my team to guess. If you're the blue team, you're trying to get your team to guess the blue words. Neither one of us wants someone to guess the spy word here in the top, the assassin, which in this case here is dog. And so you're going to try to give a clue, getting people to guess as many words as possible of your color and not the other team's color, so you can cover them up. And the first team to cover all theirs up is the winner of the game. So you'll be covering them up here. There's spies in your team, spies in the opponent. This game is sold phenomenally. It's done really well. It's a party game that gamers like. It's a party game that casual people like. It's been sold at Target. There's no question that this is just a very popular game. So there you go. Codenames. No surprise there for me. Number 36 is The Voyages of Marco Polo. This one makes me happy because this is the kind of Euro game that I really like. This is a game in which you have a full-scale map. Let me see if I can find it here. And on this map, you're going to be placing dice. Yeah, it's another dice placement game. You're going to roll dice each time, and you're going to be putting these dice in different areas, which are going to give you actions. They might give you resources, like this part of the board. They might give you ways to score. You can move people around up here on the top part of the board and put out trading houses. But what makes the game really interesting is that each person in the game has a very unique special ability. I mentioned this before, earlier when I was doing this list. With other games, this is the one game that really, I think, has this. The Clans of Caledonia was the other one. This game really does it well, because in this game you might be Marco Polo, you might be another famous explorer from this time frame, and you might have the ability to, instead of rolling your dice, to put your dice down on whatever side that you want. You might have the ability to move two people around on the map, but each person has a very specific ability, and I really like how that changes the game. The game is still, put dice out, get resources, use these resources to get points in various ways, but because of that ability, it just kind of really hones the game in, and I like it a lot. That's The Voyages of Marco Polo. Number 35, we have now reached the third game in the top 100 that I have not played, and that is Kingdom Death Monster. Would I say no to playing this game? I don't think I would if it came across my table. People have asked me a lot to review this game. There's a lot of reasons I don't. One, you can see right here in this picture, there's a lot of sprues. Putting together models is not something I'm really keen on. I don't play almost any game where you have to put together the models. The models are also, there was a heightened weird surrealism. I know that in this game you're not supposed to get attached to your characters, because your characters basically start with a loincloth and a rock, and you fight this big lion, I know that in the beginning of the game, and you're going to fight other monsters, and you have to somehow survive, and your characters die right and left. They can die by accidents. They can die with a slip of the thing. I'm not sure I'm so keen on that. However, the fans of this game love this game. And I am a fan of another similar style game, Gloomhaven, and so I can see how maybe there's some similarities. So at some point, if I do come across this game and have the opportunity to play it, I will. It's just going to be hard for me to get over the characters dying at the drop of a hat, the grotesque nature of many of the miniatures, and just like you have to put the models together, it's just big and grandiose. But again, a lot of people do enjoy Kingdom Death Monster, and it is all the way up to 35 on the list. Number 34 is Android Netrunner. Android Netrunner is an anomaly. Why is it an anomaly? Because it's an older game that was brought back and went gangbusters. Now, Netrunner was another collectible card game. It was made way back in the days by Richard Garfield, the same guy who made Magic the Gathering. And this was one that, they expected it to be big and amazing, and it didn't do well. It went out of print. Fantasy Flight brings it back as a living card game, and it exploded. It did super huge. It's still doing very well. They just published a revised core version of this. And in this game, and it's a hard game to explain how to play, one person's an evil corporation from the future, another person is a runner, or a hacker, or whatever they're called, and they're coming in and trying to get past the security systems that you've put into play. So you have two very different sides. You're picking a deck, and one side is setting traps, and the other person's trying to avoid those traps and get in there and score points. And there's some brain burning. This is not a game that's easy for new people to get into, especially if they're going to play against people who know all about the game and the metagame and all the different cards that are involved. But it has grown a very strong following. The add-on packs, it's not a collectible card game anymore, so there's lots of different packs that people keep buying. many of them. I played it, I enjoyed it, but I have no desire to go deeper into it. I look at it and go, okay, I'm good. I got to play the game. I saw that it was good, but I don't necessarily want to build decks for it and such. But some people do, and there's a lot of cards available to do that for. Android Netrunner, a huge success story. Number 33 is one of those games that I feel like I should play again. Because it's Zulkin the Mayan Calendar. I was not a fan of this one, and I thought I would be. When I first saw the board, I was like, wow, this is a game I'm super excited about. See this board here? This board has cogs on it. And you're going to have workers on the board, and the middle cog is going to be moving a step every turn, which moves the outside cogs, and your workers are going to be moving on those cogs, and different things are going to happen based on where they are. It has that feed your people mechanism, which I don't like. I've heard that the expansion makes it better, and I'm wondering, because everything else these designers have done, I've really enjoyed. And this game has crystal skulls, it has cool pieces, it has those wheels that spin around that some people paint. I even painted mine and it didn't come out so well. So, and again, this is one of those games, every time I tell people I don't like it, they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought I didn't like it, but maybe I do. So I'm looking forward to trying this one out again at some point. Number 32 is one of my favorite games. And yet again, another game from Uwe Rosenberg. And in my opinion, this is his best game, and that is Le Havre. Le Havre is a game which, and let me make this picture bigger for you. This is what the game looks like. It's not even that spectacular looking. There's all these different goods here. Wood supply, clay supply, iron supply. And each turn of the game, you are going to take a pile of goods that's at the bottom of the board. So down here at the bottom, you can see the iron there, or the coal there. You can take a pile of goods that's at the bottom of the board, or you can use a worker and activate a building. And all the buildings in this game are extremely different. They all play differently. There's special buildings that show up, and you have to figure out the right combinations. There's a lot of pieces in this game, and all these components that you're seeing in this picture here are double-sided too. So you got to figure out the right components, and it's almost like a mess, but it's just so much fun for me. Oh, those are really cool ships. Well, that is not what the game looks like at all. It has more basic looking ships. But you have to pick the best decision out of a bunch of really good decisions. You have buildings like, let's see, here's a church building that changes 5 bread and 2 fishes into 10 bread and 5 fishes. Here's another building in the game that lets you trade in 1 regular resource for a coin, or 1 upgraded resource for a coin, or 3 regular resources for a coin. At the bottom are things that the costs of the building, and buildings are going to give you points at the end of the game and money. The game is super streamlined. It's really easy. It plays, for me, only with 2 or 3 players, but I really love it. I loved everything about this game, Le Havre. And the last one for today is Brass Lancashire. Now, it was originally just called Brass, but they're coming out with 2 versions of it on the Kickstarter. This box cover that they're showing here is the new beautiful board. The original game was pretty ugly. It says Mort Wallace. This is a game about building steamboat. Oh, this new version looks so much better. This was the Kickstarter version. And in this game, you are building different canal routes and different train routes between different cities, and you are just figuring out the best way to transfer goods. And I'm not going to go into much more detail in the game because A, it's been a really long time since I played it, and I don't want to do it an injustice by incorrectly describing it. But B, it's just a little too heavy for me. I remember playing it and enjoying it, thinking, oh, it's really interesting. I don't know that it's necessarily my style of game, though, because it's really thinky. Yeah, I know, I don't like to think, right? But it also requires more thinking ahead. Like I just talked about Le Havre. Le Havre, you're like, I want this. I can use these to do this. I want these. I can use these to do this. In this one, you're building your routes ahead of time. There's a nice genre shift as the game goes by, as there's an upgrade in how all the different goods are transported across the board. I'm not really sure what the differences between the 2 Brass games are that are coming out, but I know that this one is highly regarded. Many people look at it as Martin Wallace's favorite game. No surprises for me to see it so high on the list. Anyway, that's it. That's another 10. We're down to the top 30. We'll get to those. We found another one I haven't played, but I really should get around to playing some of these games. I guess the ones I haven't played to fill out my top 100. But either way, tell me what you think in the comments about these 10. 30 more to go. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. We've been looking at the top 100 games on Board Game Geek here on the Dice Tower. Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.